Today we're going to talk about using percents to solve problems. Just a quick reminder, percent of means to multiply by. Multiply by 100. So when they ask you to find a percent of something, one way to do it is to change your percent to a decimal. Remember, we learned to change any percent to a decimal. We move our decimal point 2 places to the left. So for this example, we're going to change 38% to 38 hundredths. 2 places to the right. Of in a percent problem means to multiply. So we're going to do 38 hundredths times 61,000. And whatever label we have for our amount, that's going to be our label for our answer. So I would use my calculator and do 38 hundredths times 61 thousandths, and that would tell me how many people 38% of 61,000 is. If I use my calculator, 38 hundredths times 61,000 turns out to be 23,180 people, which makes sense. It's definitely less than half because 38% is definitely less than 50%. Let's try a couple more examples. To do 5% of 750, we're going to change 5% to a decimal, move that decimal point 2 places to the left. So 5% means 5 hundredths. Of means we're going to multiply by 750. And you can use your calculator to do that. For example number 2, it's a little bit trickier. 12.5%, you know, means 12.5%. But be careful, that is still a percent. We need to move our decimal point 2 places to the left before it becomes a decimal. So I want to multiply 125 thousandths, 0.125, of means times 8,900. And that would tell me how many dollars that would be. Example number 3. How much tax would you pay if a shirt costs $15 and sales tax rate is 6.5%? Can't avoid paying tax, so you might as well learn how to figure it out. One way to do it is to take your percent, 6.5%, times $15. Again, if it's a percent, we need to change it to a decimal by moving 2 places to the left. So my decimal is going to be 65 thousandths times 15. That means my total tax I'm going to pay is, that doesn't make any sense. Since we're talking about money, we need to round that to the nearest cent. Actually, most of the time they probably round up to the next cent. Either way, this is going to round to 98 cents tax. One way to write 98 cents is 98 hundredths of a dollar, or that is 98 with a cent sign. Dollar sign goes in front, cent sign goes behind. That doesn't mean that's how much you get out of the store with. That's just how much tax you have to pay. So your total cost would be $15.98. Because, as you know, the store always adds the tax onto the price. Example number 4. Something's on sale. The jacket regularly costs $125 is on sale for 30% off. What is the sale price? There are 2 different ways to do the problem, and you can do either way that makes sense to you. A lot of students prefer the longer way because that makes sense to them. It says 30% off, so automatically they think, 30% means 0.3 times 125. That's going to tell me how much my savings would be. I'm saving $37.50. Be careful. It didn't ask for what I was saving, it asked for my sale price. But if I'm saving $37.50, I need to do $125 minus the $37.50. And that'll tell me what my actual sale price is going to be. $87.50 is my actual sale price. That way works, and that way makes a lot of sense. But there is a little shorter way to do it if you do a little mental math. You need to think to yourself, if I'm saving 30%, that means I'm taking 30% off the price. Well, how much am I paying then? Well, 100% take away 30% means I'm actually paying 70% of that regular price. 30% off means 70% is going to remain, and that's what I'm going to pay. So I could just do 70% or 0.7 times $125. And when I do that, it's $87.50. So by doing it this way, I'm figuring out the cost of my thing. 70% represents my actual cost, whereas 30% over here represented how much I was going to save. Either way you do it, you get the same result. There is one other big idea in this lesson. They're talking about principal and interest. And those may be some vocabulary words you're not familiar with. Anytime you're dealing with borrowing money or saving money, you're going to have to understand what principal and interest are. If you go and take out a loan to pay for a new car or a new house or some big thing that you don't have enough money for, you're going to have to borrow the principal. The principal is the amount of money, the amount of dollars you are borrowing. Or if you've got an extra money saved up from a job or from a birthday, that could be the amount you are saving. So principal is the amount you are either saving or borrowing. The rate is an interest rate, and that is a percent that is set by the banks. Percent set by the banks. They'll tell you what the interest rates are going to be. We're going to use the amount of time, and our time in our formulas today will always be calculated how many years you are either saving or borrowing. And the last word is interest, and I forgot to type him up. So you're going to have to come over here and write interest, I-N-T-E-R-E-S-T. And interest is that extra money you pay to borrow, money paid to borrow, or if you've put money into a savings account, it's the money the bank pays you for keeping it in savings. So interest works both ways. Money extra you have to pay when you borrow, or it's the extra the bank pays you for saving with them. To figure out interest, there is this formula, I equals PRT. And you have learned that PRT means P times R times T. The P stands for the principal, the amount you are saving or borrowing. Your rate is that percent, and our time is how many years. Make yourself a little note here and say, remember that's got to be in years. When you do principal times rate times time, you have figured out how much interest will be paid to you or how much you're going to have to pay for borrowing. Let's try a couple examples. How much interest would be paid if $1,500 is borrowed at 21% for 18 months? Well, according to our formula, we're going to do P times R times D. P is my principal. In this problem, it is $1,500. Rate is the interest rate, it's a percent, and since he's a percent, we have to make him a decimal. 21% times time. This is not in years, and we have to have it changed to years. Some of you know that 18 months is over a year. Some of you know that is that's 1 year and 6 months. So we can call that 1 1/2 years. Now, if you didn't know that, there's a quick and easy way to change months into years. You're going to take the number of months and divide that by 12. That'll always tell you how many years. So when we finish up our calculation for time, we're going to use the number 1.5 because we're borrowing it for 1.5 years. So after using my calculator and multiplying those amounts, I have figured out you're going to have to pay $472.50 in interest. That means total to pay back, you're going to have to pay back $1,500 plus the extra $472.50. So you're going to owe a total of $1,900 and $1,972.50. For the second example, you're saving money. How much interest would be earned if $8,000 were invested or saved at an interest rate of 3.5% for 9 months? Again, we'll use our formula principal times rate equals time. Principal is $8,000 times my interest rate of 0.035. Don't forget to move the decimal over twice. Times my time. Well, 9 months is less than a year. I still can do the divide by 12. 9 divided by 12 is a fraction 3/4, or you've learned that's the decimal, 0.75. So 9 months is 75/100ths of a year. We will use 0.75 in our calculation. So we'll go through and do the math using a calculator. $210 is the amount of interest you'll earn for saving your money.